The market was loud and crowded, bustling with species from across the galaxy. A sea of beings negotiated for everything from exotic foods to rare minerals. But on one side of the market, hidden under the shadow of towering spires, a darker trade thrived. The slave pens. Crawl huddled in the corner of her cage, her forearms shackled tightly. Her smooth, shimmering teal skin was marred by bruises and cuts. Her people, the Val'thari, were a proud and graceful race once known for their artistic brilliance. But after losing a war against the Syndicate Coalition, many were sold into slavery. She'd been in this pen for 5 years. 5 long, agonizing years of humiliation, starvation, and suffering. Her captors treated her like less than nothing, a tool to be sold for credits. Today was no different. The auctioneer's booming voice echoed over the crowd. Lot 453, a rare Val'thari, strong, obedient, and functional. He grinned cruelly, emphasizing the last word. Crawl felt her heart sink. She had long stopped dreaming of freedom. But as her name and description were shouted, a shadow moved through the crowd. It was a human. The human stood out. He was tall, clad in worn-out tactical gear. His brown hair was streaked with gray, and a long scar ran down his cheek. His piercing green eyes scanned the market with a mixture of disgust and determination. "Do I hear 20,000 credits?" the auctioneer shouted. 30,000, called a wealthy-looking Drathian. 40,000, another bidder snarled. The human raised his hand. 100,000 credits. The crowd fell silent. Even the auctioneer paused, his tentacles twitching in surprise. Going once, going twice, sold. The human stepped forward, handed over a credit sheet, and approached Crawl's cage. She flinched as he knelt down. "I'm here to help," he said, his voice calm and steady. He pressed a button on the control panel, and the cage door hissed open. The shackles around her wrists and ankles clicked apart. She stared at him in disbelief. "I don't understand," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "You will," he said simply, extending a hand. The human's name was Elias. He took Crawl aboard his ship, the Silver Horizon. It wasn't luxurious, but it was clean and safe. He gave her food, real food, not the nutrient paste she was used to. He provided her with clothes, a bed, and most of all, kindness. At first, Crawl didn't trust him. Why would a human, a member of the species known for being unpredictable and terrifying, help someone like her? But over time, she began to see he had no ulterior motives. He treated her as an equal. One evening, as they traveled through hyperspace, she finally asked him, "Why did you buy me?" Elias leaned back in his chair, staring out at the streaking stars. "I've seen too much cruelty in this galaxy. I've been a soldier, a mercenary, a bounty hunter, and I've done things I'm not proud of, but I can make a difference now." One life at a time, Crawl was silent, her 4 hands gripping the warm cup of tea he had given her. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of hope. Months passed. Crawl began to heal, physically and emotionally. Elias taught her how to fly the ship, how to repair its systems, and how to defend herself. She learned that he had once been part of the United Earth Navy, but he had left after a mission went horribly wrong. Together, they traveled from system to system, helping others who were oppressed or enslaved. They became a team, a family. One day, while delivering supplies to a refugee colony, they encountered a group of syndicate enforcers. The very same slavers who had once chained Crawl. "You should stay on the ship," Elias told her. "No," she said, standing tall. Her scars were still visible, but her eyes burned with determination. "I won't hide anymore." The fight was brutal, but Elias and Crawl fought side by side. Using the skills Elias had taught her, Crawl disarmed one of the enforcers and turned the tide of the battle. When it was over, the syndicate slavers lay defeated, and the refugees were free. Back aboard the Silver Horizon, Elias smiled at Crawl. "You've come a long way," he said. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied. He shook his head. "You had it in you all along. I just gave you the chance to see it." For the first time in years, Crawl smiled, a real, genuine smile. She was no longer a slave, no longer a victim. She was free, strong, and ready to fight for others who couldn't fight for themselves. Together, they set their course for the next mission. In the vast, unforgiving galaxy, two unlikely allies became a force for change. And for Crawl, the human had given her something far greater than freedom. He had given her purpose,